What's up, everybody? Blessed be. My name is Mannun, and you're watching Witch in the Working, where we will be discussing all things witchy in and around, throughout and about, above, below, and beyond. So we're gonna do things a little bit different this time again, where we're gonna I got like some rants and stuff to go through, but it's not scripted or anything. So we're just gonna go off the cuff here, me and Pink, and talk about some of the rants that we see a lot going around especially on other social media platforms and other content creators, and just, other things I witness people saying and doing and, what have you. And the other thing was with myths, myths about Wicca and witchcraft and and of the sorts, and go over those too for everybody. So with that being said, without further ado, it's going to be a little long probably. These ones that are off the cuff usually are. So roll the intro. Welcome back, everybody. So as I was saying, we're going a little bit off the cuff this time, and we're going to do an episode where we're just kind of non-scripted and doing our thing. So one of the things, again, I wanted to address right off the bat was some rants that I'd like to take care of. So one of the things I've noticed is watching other content creators and watching other YouTubers out there and other media, social media creators in general. There is definitely a new generation of creators out there. I'd say between the ages of 18 and 25 especially is where this comes across the most. And that is that basically that all Wiccans are white lighters. And that Wiccans are white lighters, and that they turn the other cheek, and that, and it harm none, do as you will, and all of that good stuff. And I just got to explain and express that is so far from the truth, it's not even funny. As I've explained before, I've been doing this for a lot of years, been doing this for over 30 years. I'm British traditional Wiccan, Gardnerian witchcraft. And the fact is that I've known tons of people throughout this, and that whole idea of turn the other cheek and always just being positive, glowing, again, I've used the term rainbow shooting out of your ass. That is just not the case. Wiccans, we have a balance when we have things. We embrace both the dark and the light. There is a balance with everything. One of our key practices is working with the elements, the positive side of the elements and the negative sides of the elements. The reason we do this, again, is to balance ourselves out. So to turn around, to say that Wicca is all white light and that Wiccans practice all this positive energy and never embrace any kind of negativity would be going against that practice of balance. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't Wiccans out there that do embrace this and they do practice all white light and all positivity, and more power to you. But I'm simply saying that not all Wiccans do that, and I can honestly say that the majority of your Wiccans do not practice that. The majority of your Wiccans will embrace both the dark and the light. I guess I'm just sick and tired of listening to this younger generation express this publicly. And they'll literally say stuff like, witchcraft, I love witchcraft, witchcraft is amazing, witchcraft is beautiful, witchcraft is awesome, it's so powerful, it's changed my life and everything. By the way, this is not Wicca. This is not Wicca. Wicca's all about, embracing the light and just, they don't do anything that has to do with, resolving issues or anything. Everything's just turn the other cheek. That's so much bullshit. That is such bullshit. That is not the truth at all. Again, there might be a couple of people out there that call themselves Wiccan, that actually do this. And what happened is, and the reason they think that this is the case is because of that saying, and it harm none, do as you will. There's a lot more behind that saying that I can't get into right now, but it means a lot more than that. People mistaken it as in, and it harm none, do as you will, meaning don't hurt anyone or anything, including yourself. So you can't ever retaliate, and you can't ever do anything to balance things out, so to speak. That's not what it means. That's not what it means at all, and that's completely misread. Fake news, you know. but the reality is the majority of your Wiccans out there do embrace both sides and do have a balance. It's not portrayed in that sense. And again, if you are one of those people out there that do embrace that, I suggest you get yourself in balance pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not Wiccan. I don't come from a Wiccan background, and that's what I always thought Wiccans were, because I would see Wiccans say the same thing. You know, it's against my religion to harm anybody. I can't harm anybody. I only do good stuff for myself, and I try and get myself further with Wicca, things like that. And I always thought, you know, that just puts a big imbalance in this world, you know, because you can't have good without the bad, you know. So there's light and darkness. There's, you know, happy and sadness, you know, laughter and crying, whatever you think of the opposites. We're ever rotating, we're ever changing, and these emotions are supposed to go through us. So I never understood, you know, somebody does something to you and somebody's harming you and somebody's doing something to you. It's okay to push back. It's a normal reaction. Is it okay if somebody steps on your toe to, you know, I don't know, kill their mother? No, you know, but, you know, use good judgment, and whatever is deserving, you know, if you feel that they're deserving, hey, why not? You know, if it's you know, an eye for an eye, I don't disagree with it.
I think that the key thing to think about there is it's okay to embrace the balance. It's okay to, you know, and there's situations where something bad, you might be wronged and you choose not to do anything. That has to do with, you know, it's not like everybody does that. It's not like if something happens to me negative, it's not like I make it a point to retaliate. I'm just saying, it just depends on my energy. It depends on, you know,
it's not always beneficial to you to retaliate. If
Right.
It's not worth your time, then why waste your time? If you go, well, this person's just going to go away anyways, and they're just wasting your time. But if somebody is legitimately making your life miserable, we're not here to be miserable all the time. You know, we need to do stuff to protect ourselves and do stuff to make people not harm us. And if that means pushing back to where they go, hey, you know what, it's not worth it, then so be it, you know. And then you got them off your case, and it's happy days until you meet the next one.
Well, no, I agree, and I guess that's the big thing is that it's not. I just wanted to clear that up. I really wanted to clear that up. That I'm just tired of hearing it. I'm tired of hearing it, and I'm tired of hearing it from the same demographic, no less. It's not even like it's everybody saying this. It's these children who don't know any better, and they haven't even looked into it. If they just automatically assume, and I just hate that. But let's move on to the next one. So
Wait a minute. There's a reason why Mannun won't stand all the way up. Stand all the way up, man.
Well, if I stand all the way up.
Well, a lot of people don't know is Mannun's actually a giant. I'm normal size.
Yeah, so I got to kind of lean down on the bar, like say. So the next topic is, and God, you know, this is going to be one of them videos that's like kind of sketchy, but you know what? I just wanted to get it off my chest because I can imagine ringing a few bells with this one, but I don't know, man. This is just, I just always wanted to get these things off my chest, and now's a good time to do it. And if somebody doesn't disagree with me, by all means, argue it back in the comments below. Tell me I'm full of crap. Tell me why I'm wrong, because we're all here to learn. We're all here to, figure this whole thing out. So the next one is my way or the highway type attitude, where these people will get on and they'll get into social media groups and everything, and they'll say, it's my way or that, you have to do it this way or it doesn't count, or you have to do it this way or you're not practicing witchcraft, or, you have to do it this way or your magic's not going to work. That again, bullshit. Now listen, there's certain things that certain traditions will practice and do, and that's great for them. And the thing is that for those traditions, like in my practice in Gardnerian witchcraft, there's certain things that we do the same every time. There's certain things that we do that works for us. But when you're coming into it, you're showing these things, and if you don't agree with them from the beginning, then you move on to something that you agree with. That's the wonderful thing of this being, living in America and being in a free country, is that you're not tied in, you're not forced to do anything. If you don't like what you're being taught, then you walk on. Hopefully it happens before you get initiated, but regardless. So these people that have this attitude of it's my way or the highway, I just don't agree at all. And I think that some of these people need to reevaluate their own ego.
No, I agree. I love when somebody tells me I'm doing something wrong and I've been doing it for 10 years and I'm like, well, then I guess I'm wrong for 10 years, I mean, if it works for me, then it works for me. If, and I wouldn't continue doing it if it didn't work for me. So they can tell me I'm doing it wrong as long as they want, as long as it's been working for me. Or sometimes they're like, well, that's the wrong way to do it, but I want to try something that I've heard of or read, for instance. I'm gonna do it and see if it does work, because there's no harm in that either. There's no harm in failing at something or something isn't working, because then hey, that road doesn't work for me, let me try it this way. And maybe taking their advice later on if it doesn't work for you. But I mean, you're not going to learn or grow without trial and error. You're not going to learn and grow without being able to do things the way you are, and you're certainly not going to stop doing something that's working for you just because somebody tells you it's wrong.
No, yeah, 100% agree. So for the people out there, just to understand that everybody practices things differently, and even though there's so many things that we cover that we do together as a whole, that we do together, like everybody kind of like, it's pretty common that a lot of people who do perform ritual, it usually involves drawing a circle, for instance. I don't know any other way of doing it. I've never heard of any other way of doing it. I've only ever heard of people drawing circles. I've never had a magical practitioner come up to me and say, we practice in a square. It just doesn't happen.
I'll try it.
so the thing is like, but if somebody did come and say and do that, what, that's their thing. And listen, I'm not one of these people also that says like, oh, well, you do you, and and you just do whatever you want to do. To me, sometimes that's an easy out to a question. To me, sometimes it's like if somebody asks you something, some people will say, oh, well, it doesn't matter. Do whatever you want to do. That's just the way it is. Do whatever you want to do. I don't necessarily believe that either. I believe that there are certain things that need to be done a certain way. But I think those things are pretty universal. Again, I think drawing a circle is one of those things, for instance. There's a reason a circle's drawn. It's not because it's a fun shape. It's because there's three primary reasons behind it. One of those is a circle for protection. Another one is to separate the worlds between the worlds.
It's like a cone of power, right?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
And the third reason is to, especially for witches, it's a cone of power. It's to bring in energy before we let it go. But I think that when it comes to certain other things, there are different ways of doing things. But it's in some situations there is pretty set in stone. In some ways there aren't. But it is not, there is no my way is the highway for an entire practice. It's just that's just people's, again, ego brought into play. Okay, another one I can't stand, and it is what it is. But I just in my particular tradition, we do not believe in exchanging money for teaching witchcraft. It's actually completely against our teachings, our ways. If I was ever caught teaching Gardnerian witchcraft for money, I would be kicked out in a second. I'd be what's called cut from the tree in a second. I've seen it happen, actually. That being said, I don't agree with a lot of these situations where there's people out there teaching Wicca where they literally will like bring up a website and they'll be like, oh my gosh, join this next semester, join this next thing where it's, it's only $300. Go get your parents' credit cards. Go get them. Don't worry about it. They're going to love this. You get in there and you get that card and you put it to this and you do, it's, or maybe you can come join my college. It's an online college, but, you come join my Witchcraft college and let's do this. And, and we'll pay, and you pay us and we'll teach you Wicca 101. Listen, people, you might as well go pick up a book or watch my videos, or watch some of these other content creators' videos. You're gonna get a lot better. You're gonna be a lot better off. And you know what? You're gonna be saving yourself some money. I can't believe on the capitalization there. It's one thing when you're sharing something, when you're sharing information with people. If people want to, donate things to keep things going, or donate or subscribe to something to keep things going, with you, and maybe because they're happy to learn something from you, so they want to donate a little something. That's great. So mote it be. But to literally sit there and put like a cost to, we're going to teach you Wicca 101. It's going to be $300 course. Yours now for just $295.99 if you act now. Come on, man. That's just kind of ridiculous in my opinion. I just, I don't know. I know there's people out there that do it, and I know that there's groups of people out there that band together to do that. If you're one of those people that wants to pay for it and go for it, then and it feels like, and you feel like if you paid money for it, then it's more legit, more power to you. I'm just saying, in my opinion, I just don't agree with it at all.
Yeah, you're wasting your money. Basically, if somebody comes to you and tells you something's going to be $500 or more, and you think, oh wow, that's a lot, but it's going to, take me to a higher place in my spirituality, chances are it won't, no more than a book. I have a friend, for instance, she was taught tarot for about $2,000. And I felt bad. I laughed at her at first. I was like, are you insane? But she wasn't. She really wanted to learn tarot, and she's a great tarot reader, but she spent $2,000 to learn that. And it was funny because we were actually at a thrift shop when she was telling me this, and I was telling her, oh, you're insane for doing that, and laughing at her. And she's like, what are you talking about? My tarot, I do readings for people come to me, and that is all true. But as we were walking, I found an old how to read tarot book in the thrift store and bought it that day for $3.
Well, and my question is this. Is your friend great at reading tarot because she paid the $2,000, or is she great at reading tarot because she practiced and got good at it?
Exactly. I think it has everything to do with practice. She's been doing it years after that. But when I think about that, and I want to say, first of all, I'm not good at reading tarot. That's not my thing. So for me to say this, I'm coming from a different point of view. But that being said, I have never paid anything more than for a book to learn something from witchcraft or spiritually. I know that a lot of people pay for these classes, and although I'm not good at tarot, there are other things I'm really good at that I took no classes for. And I do know other tarot readers that are fantastic at tarot, just like she is, that did the same thing. They didn't pay an arm and a leg to learn tarot. They just studied from books and studied their practice and practiced it until they were really good. So.
Which, that's what the majority of witchcraft is. Trial and error, people. It's that simple. I'm actually going to get to a question that addresses that a little bit more going down here, but the fact is that, trial and error is your best teacher when it comes to a lot of this stuff. And as far as learning the basics, look, again, if you want to pay that extreme amount of money, but I'm just saying that if that makes you feel better, then by all means go for it. I'm just saying it's not necessary. It's absolutely not necessary. As a matter of fact, the majority of people, and I think that there's victims in there too. I think that there's a lot of children that think that that's the way to go. I don't know if there's an adult out there who would do that, who would go pay $500 of their hard-earned money, for instance, to learn a Wicca 101 course. I just don't see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. People really shouldn't be charging for knowledge when it comes to spiritual growth. There are things like, supplies that I can understand them saying, okay, well, you need these candles or what have you, or these cards, or even this book. But I can't understand them saying, well, it's going to be $2,000, or even $400 or $500 to take this course that I'm going to teach you that you could easily learn from a book, or even watching something like this, something on YouTube.
But I mean, it's sad because I've actually seen where Pink showed me a video. She showed me a content creator that literally told kids to go get their parents' credit cards and sneak their cards basically and pay for this, that they'd be fine with it. That's criminal as far as I'm concerned, you know, and it's embarrassing, to be honest with you. Next one, the hold my hand syndrome. Again, this comes with a lot of people who are very inexperienced and don't realize that this is, again, a trial and error thing. So there's people out there that will say, you know, hold my hand with all of this stuff. You know, I don't know how to do this, so how do I do it? I mean, down to the very last, it's like, what incense do I make? What herbs do I put in it? How much of each herb? What happens if I put a pinch too much or a pinch too little? Am I gonna die? And, you know, especially when it comes to like rituals and things like that.
Or breathing techniques. How long do I wait till I breathe?
Yeah, no. It's like, or yeah, and like rituals and spells, you know, they'll just be like, I need to know every single little detail. And the thing is that people just go out there and do it. Just do it. There's a video I have, actually, one of the episodes back there. I'll link it up here, whatever it was. It's literally, the title of it is Just Do It. And that's because your best teacher in all of this is your trial and error. Okay? Read books. Watch content creators, watch other witches do things, talk to the public, talk to other witches, you know, talk to other, you know, when I say talk to the public, I mean talk to, when you go to like public rituals and things like that, if you meet a group of people out there, talk to them, learn from them. But listen, no matter how much you write down on that piece of paper, your best teacher is going to be your own trial and error. Because first of all, what one person says should be, this goes back to address the other one from before, where it's like my way's the highway. You need to make your highway. You need to make your road. Don't follow somebody else's, so to speak. I mean, it's okay for somebody to give you generalizations of certain things, especially when it comes to like spells and rituals and things like that. But it's okay to make them work for you, because not everybody's going to have the same criteria. They're not going to have the same motive. They're not going to have the same passion or the same you know, what they want to put into it, you know. So you know, you really do have to let go of the apron strings and do your own thing from time to time.
I think it becomes very confusing for people who are new to the witchcraft path. And what happens is there's so much information, they don't know where to start. And I always tell somebody, pick something, journey with that, and when you're done journeying with that, pick something else. Learn the basics, learn basic correspondences, learn about your elements. You know, those are the basic things that you'll need. And after that, then you can start going down the path of different divinations, you know, scrying, you know, spell work, all that stuff, shadow work. If it seems appealing to you, then it resonates with you, and you should explore that further. And you should explore that without paying an arm and a leg.
Right.
So.
And something else you just said, where you said shadow work and the shadow self, and that goes back to the very first one about Wiccan white lighters. I'm going to do a little bang around there, but I forgot about that too. Shadow working and the shadow self and all that stuff would have no criteria and not exist if we didn't have to have a balance of some kind. If it was all positive, all love and light, there is no shadow self for that aspect, you know. So, you know, just another thing there. But okay, here's one that's pretty crazy. This one talks about not all Wiccans are witches. Okay, I hear that quite a bit too, that there's people out there that say that not all Wiccans are witches. Now, again, as we go through, if anybody watches my very first video on the difference between Wiccans, pagans, and witches, there is a difference. But the fact is that I do not know a Wiccan who is not a witch. Okay, it just doesn't happen. There's people out there that claim it, and I think they just say it to argue. If you're a Wiccan, you practice witchcraft. Okay, that's just the way it is. Now, somebody I'm sure will comment below, I'm a Wiccan and I don't practice witchcraft. I'm calling you out on it. I think you're saying it. Just my opinion. Again, the basis behind Wicca is witchcraft. Okay. Now I know that there are two different things, only in a sense. Basically, a Wiccan is a religious witch. And what I mean by religious witch is there's a specific religion called Wicca that revolves around witchcraft. Okay, it revolves around witchcraft. The seed of Wicca is witchcraft. Okay. So that being said, there are witches, tons of witches out there who are not Wiccan. But I'm stepping out on a limb here in this witch's opinion, and I'm saying all Wiccans are witches, but not all witches are Wiccans.
I mean, I see this a lot with just witches in general. I've heard of witches that have never done a spell, but they've been witches for 30 years. And, you know, I'm not going to tell somebody how to see themselves or how to label themselves or what have you, but I definitely feel that, you know, to be a witch, you have to practice witchcraft.
Yeah.
The craft is part of the witch part, and no matter how you do it, no matter how you practice, I'm not just saying you have to practice like me or practice like him or what have you. I'm saying you need to practice the craft in order to be the witch. And
Pink and I were actually talking about this earlier, and I actually brought up the question, you know, like what makes, like what constitutes witchcraft? You know, like what constitutes, because there's witchcraft of many forms all over the world. I mean, there's witchcrafts in Africa, there's witchcrafts in Asia, there's witchcrafts in the Americas, you know, in Europe and everything else, and they're all different, you know. And one of the things we agreed on was that all witches use supernatural forces. They use supernatural forces to try to accomplish something. That's what, as far as I'm concerned, all witches do. And we thought about it, and we kind of came to that conclusion that, yeah, because all witches, wherever you are, wherever continent you're from, will call on supernatural forces to accomplish something. And that's what I think constitutes practicing witchcraft. So for you to say you're a witch, like Pink was saying, and never do magic or anything, listen, that goes back to, again, where I said, like, you can be Wiccan, right? And people will say, oh, well, I'm Wiccan, but I never do magic or anything like that, which is just crap. I just don't believe that at all. But to be a witch and never practice magic, then you're not really a witch. I mean, I can't say that. I mean, I can say that you honestly, if you're not doing that, then you're just a person. I mean, seriously, what are you doing if you're not practicing magic as a witch and not calling on those supernatural forces? Then you're not a witch. Then you're just, you know, whatever you are. You're a person walking this earth, like thousands and thousands, millions of people walk this earth not practicing witchcraft, not casting magic, let me rephrase that. Millions of people walk this earth not doing magic, okay? In that sense of calling on supernatural forces or working with supernatural forces to attain goals. They're just human beings. They're all over the place. That's what separates being a witch from not being a witch, as far as I'm concerned.
Right. Yeah.
You agree with that?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, again, you know, there's going to be something that constitutes you under the umbrella of witch. I mean, you can say, again, whatever you want. You know, I'm not, you know, the politically correct police or whatever you want to say, but, you know, again, if you sit there and you tell me you're a witch, I'm going to be, oh, okay. But if you sit there and tell me that you're a witch and you don't practice witchcraft, again, I'm going to be like, oh, okay. But I'm going to think what I think, you know, because I do practice the craft, therefore I can say I'm a witch.
Mm-hmm. And just for you people out there, just so you know we're talking from the same carafe here, so to speak. I'm Wiccan. I'm a Gardnerian witch, okay? I practice witchcraft and I'm Wiccan. Pink is a witch, but she's not Wiccan. So there you go. I mean...
Although I'm British.
But you're not. You can tell by your accent. No. So let's move on to the next one. So this next one is, here, you can read this, number 6.
Wicca is an all-female dominated religion. Wow.
What do you think about that?
No.
No.
I mean, I know a lot more.
Well, if you're looking at just us, it's 50-50.
I mean, witchcraft, I do know a lot more witches that are female, but then again, it's not strict. I have met men that think it is a strict thing that only women can do, or I don't know, they don't feel like they could be a part of it because it is overwhelming with a lot of women. But it depends on what circles you're in too, because there have been other times I've walked in with other witches and you're going to get a 50-50 effect where you got a lot of men and a lot of women. So I mean,
yeah, I mean, I think that as a whole, now I don't know this because I don't know the numbers. It's not like I went out and did a statistics thing. So, but I think that from in the past to present, Wicca and witchcraft both are kind of is a little more dominated by women, meaning that, what I mean by dominated by, I think dominated is a bad choice of words. I think that's just what a lot of people say. They use that word, domination. But the fact is, I just think that there are more women that follow this than there are men. I know that there's a lot of men that do this, and I've been in covens before. I've seen covens where there was more men in the coven than there were women. But for the most part, it's usually more women than there are men. And you see a lot more women. Let me give you a prime example of what I'm talking about. So when me and Pink were talking about this, I actually went on my YouTube analytics to see my Witch Into Working channel. And if you go on the YouTube analytics, there's actually a breakdown of what type of people, or not what type of people, what gender of peoples are watching your videos and their age group. 72% of the people that are subscribed to my channel, out of 72,600 and something as of this morning, 72% are women. There's only 22 or 23% men. So that kind of gives you an answer right there.
Yeah, and something that I was just thinking of that just popped into my head. The interesting part about men that do witchcraft, rather than the general men, I don't want to say all men in general, but general men, is they have a sort of respect for women, knowing that it takes both male and female to make not only balance, but make things work. Without male energy and female energy, we can't make magic. You know, it takes both. Again, it's all about that balance. And you see that more with men that are in witchcraft, because that is not only what we're taught, but that is what we know to be true. So therefore you see a lot of the men, you know, less likely to go, oh, we don't need the women for that. That's never the case in witchcraft. And
along with that too, I can say that you're almost never gonna find a male chauvinist, you know, pig in Wicca and witchcraft. Most of the men, I'm gonna say, the only reason I never say all is because
it's always a few.
There's
always a exception to the rule.
It's not, yeah, and I never say black and white. I always keep things gray. So anytime I ever say anything, but in my heart, I'm gonna say I believe that there are no men in Wicca that are male, that are part of a group that are male chauvinist pigs. They don't last long. Let me put it that way. I'm not saying that there isn't somebody that might have done that. All I'm saying is that there may be a man that was out there and decided to join a coven because they thought that would make it where he could have an easy prey towards women, as far, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, oh, well, if I join this coven where there's these 8 women, man, oh, geez, you know. Of course, that's probably happened, but I can tell you one thing, that usually doesn't last long.
Yeah.
Usually that person goes way too far, way too quick, and gets kicked out of that coven.
Yeah.
Because
us women know when the men are in it for, you know, something other than the magic.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, it's true. You can sense it, and you know, and it's just like, it's kind of ridiculous, you know, like, for anybody. So you guys out there, if you decide to do this because, you know, you think that this is going to get me in with all the chicks, yeah, it's just not a good idea. Not a good idea.
You might have 5 minutes of talking chicks. 5 at most. I don't know.
So this one is a personal one again. This is a rant that I've heard people say, again, much from this younger demographic out there, where they'll literally say that, I've heard before where they said that Gerald Gardner, the man who resurrected Wicca as we know it today for the most part, that he said that at one point that his way, that this Wicca that he re-emerged, reborn, so to speak, was the only way and the only thing in existence. That nothing really magical was before that. Again, bullshit. I call complete bullshit. Gardner never said that. Nowhere on any book did he ever say anything like that. I've actually had a person tell me that this happened and that Gardner, and that she read that Gardner did this or something, and I told her, show me the book. Show me the book that he says that. And I was met with, well, I don't remember. I couldn't find, that would take me forever to find. I'm like, yeah, exactly. Never happened. Never did that. Gardner would never do that. Gardner himself was part of many systems, for instance, involving the OTO, involving rituals of the Dayak people of Indonesia, including what he learned with Wicca and part of Rosicrucian Society at the same time. And he was a Freemason also. So he was part of many systems. So for him to say that his way is the only way is just an, I don't know if oxymoron's the right word, but it's just ridiculous. That just never happened. Again, a myth I just wanted to bust up now for if you happen to hear that in the future, because that's just not true. And we respect all the systems out there. I myself am an OTO member. I myself am a Wiccan. I myself practice ceremonial magic. I practice many different systems, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know too much about what, I can't speak on Gerald Gardner. I don't know too much about him, to be quite honest. But I do believe, I do know he brought witchcraft to the masses. And I do believe that, just like the rest of us, he developed his own system that he taught to the masses, and I think that he took it from many different magical paths. Because I see different things being done in different places, and people go, well, that's Wiccan.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, it could be Wiccan, but did it start from Wicca? That's always a question. It's always a chicken and the egg with witchcraft.
Oh, and it always will be, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would love to be able to tell you people that Gardner brought this whole Wicca system from ancient things from thousands of years ago, but come on. I mean no, that's just not the case. The fact is that he was involved with a group of people that taught him a specific witchcraft that he embraced wholeheartedly. But then he needed to build on it. So when he moved forward, he actually collaborated and used and took from a couple of different sources and built what we have today. Mm-hmm. Which brings me to another one that where people will say all the time, and this was something addressed by Thorn Mooney, another fellow Gardnerian that I have a lot of respect for, and she has a channel too, where she addressed where people will say, especially, okay, so apparently there's a movement out there recently that's been very big. It's really drawn a lot of attention lately, and it's not that it didn't always exist. I think one of the reasons Wicca is so big is because it screamed the loudest back in the days. Okay, there was witchcraft too that was just a traditional witchcraft type deal, but Wicca screamed the loudest, so it got the most attention. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. Now there's a witchcraft movement coming out, a traditional witchcraft movement they'll call it, and there's many forms of it. But the thing is they're starting to come out and starting to make headway and starting to express themselves. So yeah, this movement of witchcraft. So a lot of people have embraced this movement where they don't really choose to want to be Wiccan. They want to remove the religious part of it out, which is a god and goddess, and we have religious sides of things in Wicca, and they just want to embrace the magic side of it, which is the witchcraft side of it. Okay, which is great. Because again, Wicca is a witchcraft and a religion, both. So if you want to just embrace the witchcraft side of it, but these people will come out and they all of a sudden get a little bit upset because there's Wicca, quote unquote, Wicca throw up all over witchcraft. And what they mean by that is that they're practicing witchcraft in all the books they read and all the texts they get and they learn things from. There's Wicca all over it, where there's a lot of practice of Wicca involved in witchcraft. There's gonna be. And the reason behind it is because most of the books that are being written on witchcraft today all started from these Wicca books back in the 60s and 70s and 80s and whatever. So again, Wicca screamed the loudest. So obviously anything that comes from it is going to have remnants of it attached to it. So a lot of the witchcraft practitioners of today will get a little upset sometimes, and they'll be like, how come I can't get away from this Wicca thing? You know, which to me personally, I'm like, well, why do you want to? But, you know, but I get it. Some people don't want the religious side of it, but there's a practice involved with it too. And the way it is that when Wicca resurfaced, when Gardner re-brought Wicca out here, and the many authors afterwards that brought up, you know, Patricia Crowthers and your Philip Heseltons and, you know, these other, you know, all these other authors came afterwards. They were teaching and they were writing about Wicca and lumping it the same as witchcraft, okay? Because it was all one thing back then, if we really want to get, you know. It's not that it is the same thing, but back then it kind of was the same thing. You know, witchcraft and Wicca were synonymous with each other. You know, because it's a practice. You know, all Wiccans practice witchcraft, so they just lumped it all together. But that being said, I guess I'm trying to explain this in a way that doesn't, like, you know, make hackles go up on shoulders. But the fact is that if you're a practicing witch today and you're trying to stay away from Wicca and you're trying to just practice witchcraft itself, you're going to have a hard time, because you're going to see remnants of Wicca all over the place all the time, because it's like reinventing the car. Every car has 4 wheels. Wicca is the car with 4 wheels. No matter how much you try to change that, it's still going to have 4 wheels. You can change the body of the car, you can change the engine of the car, you can change the interior of the car, but it's always going to have those 4 wheels. Those 4 wheels being Wicca. If you get what I'm trying to say.
I see it as this way: like if you're practicing witchcraft and you're practicing it the same sort of manner as somebody who's Wiccan, that doesn't mean you're practicing a Wiccan craft. It means you're practicing witchcraft.
Right.
They're Wiccan because of their religion. So even though you may be casting a circle the same way, let's say, doesn't mean you fall in the same category, you know. Also with Wicca, I know that there's certain deities that they call upon, whereas there's certain, what do they call them? Personified deities or whatever, or personified spirits. A lot of non-Wiccans like to call on personified spirits, and that could be anybody. I mean, I had an eclectic friend that, for instance, loved to call on old musicians that had died, like Elvis. One I know. So on Old Crone, the one who taught me, loved Elvis. She loved Elvis, and she was constantly trying to get in touch with Elvis. And it wasn't what, you know, to her it wasn't what would Jesus do? What would Elvis do? You know, Elvis would eat a grilled peanut butter sandwich with bananas on it. That's what he would do. You know?
Cakes and wine brings a new meaning to it.
Exactly. You know, and there's people that do that, but those are people that I know that practice witchcraft. I don't know how much of that's done in Wicca, but I do know it's witchcraft. And I do know that a lot of Wiccans, especially Gardnerians, practice other things other than Gardnerian witchcraft, is from what Mannun has told me. And I would have known that without him telling me that. I would have
You know what?
Same.
That's a great way to put that. For you witches out there that don't want to practice Wicca, but when you're doing ritual and things like that, you tend to feel like maybe you're doing something Wiccan and it upsets you. Don't think of it like that. Thinking that you're doing ritual for witchcraft.
Exactly.
And that's what Wiccans do too. Wiccans are doing ritual that we learned. That's the ritual that we do is still delving in witchcraft. So, you know, so we're all doing witchcraft. Just look at it that way. That way you don't have to jumble your brain and, you know, try to run from it. Again, I don't understand why people hate Wicca so much. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say people hate Wicca so much. I'm just saying that there's this one demographic, this 18 to 25 demographic that is just completely anti-Wiccan, and I just don't know why. One of these days I'll figure it out, and one of these days it'll come clean. I just don't get it right now. But either way. So this is another one. I get quite a bit. That witches and Wiccans that are part of covens, especially Gardnerian British traditional Wiccans, where we practice skyclad, which is with no clothes, that we have orgies, and that the only reason we do these things is to have orgies. Sad to say, there's no orgies. It just doesn't happen.
I thought it was porn stars who had orgies, swingers who had orgies, and Wiccans who had orgies. Apparently, it's only 2 groups of people.
Oh my
not
gosh.
3.
So, it just doesn't. Yeah, it just doesn't happen. I mean, the orgies just doesn't happen. Sorry, people. Listen, I'm not going to say
some Wiccan followers right there. Really?
Yeah, and I'm not going to say. I know, right? I just lost 10,000 subscribers. It's like, well, then I've been wasting my time. No. Now, I'm not going to say that there are no covens out there that didn't have orgies. I mean, maybe there are covens out there that had orgies. I've never been in a coven that had an orgy, and I've never known any covens to have orgies. But maybe there are some out there that have orgies, especially in the 70s and stuff like that when they were pretty big out there. But this is one of those. This is one of those bands I was talking about. So I don't know if you guys know. Again, we're in South Florida for right now. I'm moving to New Hampshire by the end of the month. But as you know, there's a tropical storm coming straight up our ass. And I was telling Pink earlier that there's these bands of frustrating weather that we'll get where there's high winds and just this rainfall for like 20 minutes and then it just stops all of a sudden because it's coming off the tropical storm. And we're going through one right now. We're looking out through that's one right now.
Yeah, and that's why the cats are going insane in the background too. It's because they don't know what to make of it. They're like,
yeah.
I'm inside, but I'm going to also die.
So that's a pretty short and sweet and to the point one. I'd like to get into detail about that, but there's really nothing to get into detail about. Yeah, there's no orgies. It just doesn't happen. So for some of these people to come out and say some of the things they say about that we don't know what we're talking about or that this is an old school way of thinking, I just 100% don't agree, And again, one of those things is this whole white lighter thing that I was talking about in the beginning. They just don't understand that things are, if you embrace the all good and you just turn everything to light, everything will be light. It's not the way it works. You know what you're doing? You're setting yourself up for a huge, huge upset. One of the ways I like to explain it is with a pendulum story, where there's things in life, you have your positive and you have your negative in life. And there's a pendulum that swings back and forth. And as that pendulum swings back and forth, it goes to the positive and then it goes to the negative. And it goes to the positive and it goes to the negative. It's not about trying to slow that pendulum down between the two. It's about trying to bring those two pieces through balance, through the practice of balance, closer together so that you don't have to have such an extreme swing from positive to negative. It's just a little positive, and then what happens is ultimately is you're bringing them to the balance together, and the pendulum has nowhere to go but to have little tidbits of positive and negative that ultimately turn from bad positives or huge positives and huge negatives to little positives and little negatives, and that's where the balance comes in.
I like that better anyways. It does balance out your day, and it goes with the some good things are going to happen throughout your day and some bad things are going to happen throughout your day, and that's normal. That's life. You just don't want them to be extremely bad things. And, it's great to have extremely good things, I'm not gonna lie, but
But you're also gonna the pendulum's always gonna swing the other way.
Exactly.
And that's where it comes in that story.
Exactly.
That I've told back in one of my videos on Tales from a Witch, where it talks about the ring with it says on that king that says this too shall pass, meaning that regardless of how great things are in your life at the moment, realize that they're gonna pass. But at the same time, no matter how horrible things are in your life, they too are gonna pass. Mm-hmm. So it kind of balances out. It's a great lesson in balance.
Opens the door for other good things to happen, just other things to happen, but you gotta think of the stuff that keeps you going.
It's all
growth.
What are
those good things?
Yep.
What is the growth here? It's really a matter of if you've never tried it, then how do you know it's not going to work for you?
Yeah.
So it's everybody's growth, and it's one size doesn't fit all type of deal too. Mm-hmm. What works for one might not work for you. So just because a lot of people say, well, this really worked for me, if you've tried it 3 times and it hasn't worked for you, don't feel bad. There's something else that will work just as well. It's just not that.
Yeah. But sometimes I just see these things and I'm like, it's just, it just drives me crazy because I'm like, it's just not the way it really is. It's not the truth. It's your opinion, and you're making it sound like, that this is just the way it is. And what's horrible is that it's being expressed to other people who are up and coming, other people who are young, and what do you call it, when somebody's, when they're easy to mold, when they're, well, I guess that's it. When they're, I keep on wanting to say inspirational, but not inspirational. Anyway, where they're easy to mold, and this whole new generation of these magical peoples are going to come out with this falsified information that just isn't true, and it's just I don't know. I just take it personally sometimes, and so that's why I wanted to do this rant video and this whole thing to try to clear that up. I've had so many comments by you guys saying that it's great, that one of the reasons you guys like this channel a lot is because there's a male witch perspective, which there's just not a lot of male witch perspectives out there. And the other one they really enjoy, that you guys will really enjoy out there, is that not just that it's a male witch perspective, but also an older male witch perspective. I'm 48 years old. I'm not like an ancient old man or anything. I don't think so anyway, but I'm definitely not 18, and I've been around the block, and I have more blocks to turn. So, and I get that, I understand that. I got so far to go, and I'm so happy that I do. I don't, I want to be walking this earth. I want to be doing YouTube content when I'm 100 years old, But thing is I just don't. I don't know. I just wanted to free that up and kind of rant and kind of express that, so that if any of you are watching these things or you do see these things, you realize that it's just not the way it is. But did you have anything else to say?
I mean, I think something along the lines of constructive criticism. Everybody gets constructive criticism. I don't want people to feel like we're bashing on anybody here. We're just seeing some things that we see that I think need to be addressed, and that's it. We don't want to bash on anybody. Everybody does things their own way, and if they like the way they do it, who cares what we think anyway, right?
Pretty sure. But that being said, we're going to end this episode of Witching and Working. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please remember to give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Subscribe, and make sure you ring that little bell and hit the all so that you can be reminded of all my future episodes to come. Don't forget, I have a Facebook that you can go to, and my Witching and Working store that's up. I created a new symbol recently, so if anybody wants to check it out, go and check it out. It's a brand new symbol I ended up doing. And also have a Patreon account for the script of many videos that have a script to them, so to speak. This one, for instance, will not be on there because it's not scripted. But that being said, I love you guys and gals, and we'll see you on the next video.